Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. This program is suitable for general viewing.
It is another Friday that we meet here and we say Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And a very good morning to you. Welcome to Horizon TV. Today being the Friday, 2nd of August 2024, as well as 27th of Muharram 1446. A very good morning to you and welcome to Horizon TV. This is the Muslim Insight. My name is Zamzam Ahmed. Today we have so much lined up for you. But before that, let's get the headlines.
The use of religion to carry out very anti-religion things is what got our attention as a nation.
Stakeholder Task Force report. President Ruto receives the Stakeholder Task Force report aimed at preventing religious radicalization in the country.
The Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims distanced itself from the case filed by Nyamwamo and 13 others on grounds that we were not consulted and that SUPKEM is incapable of filing a response in its own name.
We are not with you. SUPKEM distances itself from a petition to remove President Ruto from office, even as they call for national dialogue on issues raised by Gen Z. Decline in fertility rate. Survey shows Mandera has highest fertility rate in the country, with Nairobi having the lowest fertility rate.
Thank you so much for keeping it at Horizon TV. My sign language interpreter is Abdul Wahab Ali. Now on to our top story is that the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, SUPKEM, has called for a national dialogue to address the concerns raised by Gen Zs during a recent protest. Speaking during a media briefing in Nairobi, SUPKEM National Chairman Hassan Ole Nado stated that the country needs to have serious conversation on issues raised by Gen Z. At the same time, SUPKEM distanced itself from a petition to remove President William Ruto from office on grounds that they were not consulted, despite SUPKEM being listed as an interested party.
The Supreme Council of Kenya Muslim National Chair Hassan Ole Nado, while quoting the constitution of SUPKEM, distanced themselves from the petition filed by Cyprian Nyamwamo and 13 others to remove President Ruto from office.
The Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims distanced itself from the case filed by Nyamwamo and 13 others on grounds that we were not consulted and that SUPKEM is incapable of filing a response in its own name. 2. The leadership of SUPKEM will approach the Honorable Court, says on this matter, to have SUPKEM discharged as an interested party.
Ole Nado urged the Gen Zs to engage the government in dialogue, stating that the issues raised are of great concern to the nation and requires comprehensive engagement.
SUPKEM stands by its earlier position that following the historic protest by Gen Zs that pricked the conscience of our nation, the country needs to have a very serious conversation with itself in order to ensure that the genuine issues raised by Gen Zs are addressed comprehensively and with finality.
This move comes as a response to the growing unrest and demands for change among the youth, who have been vocal about issues such as unemployment and political transparency.
Further, our position is in support of structured and all-inclusive dialogue to address the pertinent issues raised by Gen Zs is anchored in Article 10 of the Constitution on national values and principles of governance, which include, among other things, the rule of law, democracy, and participation of the people.
SUPKEM further called for justice and compensation for all victims of police brutality related to peaceful protests that occurred in various parts of the country.
Above all, we cannot proceed with dialogue without justice for the innocent lives lost during Gen Z's protest, and without holding the relevant duty bearers accountable for the physical and psychological trauma suffered by those who are maimed, abducted, and illegally detained in said response to the youth protests.
President William Ruto had on July 9th announced a 6-day multi-sectoral convention aimed at addressing the issues raised by the youth in response to protests initially sparked by the Finance Bill 2024.
Kenya, being the resilient people we always are, to come together and figure out the future of our country.
Protesters, however, rejected the call for dialogue, maintaining that the protests clearly articulated their demands. Muhammad Shakombo, Muslim Insight.
Thank you so much, Muhammad Shakombo, for that report. Now moving on to other stories is that the government of Kenya has been ordered to pay a 441 million Kenya shillings compensation to families of 147 students who died in the April 2, 2015 terror attack at Garissa University. A 3-judge bench of the High Court on Wednesday also ordered the government to pay a 56.9 Kenya shillings million compensation to the survivors of the terror attack. The family of each deceased person will receive a 3 million Kenya shillings, while survivors were granted variant amounts of compensation.
In 2019, students, families and Kituo cha Sheria sued the government, security agencies and the college for failing to take steps to stop the attack despite having useful intelligence. Over 33 former students argue that the state also delayed rescue operations, leading to injuries to victims and the death of 147 young students. A 3-judge bench proved that the state had the responsibility of protecting the students during the attack, and as a result of its failure, students lost their lives and their constitutional rights were violated. The family of each deceased person will receive 3 million Kenya shillings, while survivors were granted variant amounts of compensation.
Elsewhere, the Israeli army killed 39 more Palestinians in attacks in the Gaza Strip, taking the overall death toll to over 39,000 since last October 7, 2023. According to the Health Ministry in a statement released on Monday, over 90,000 other people have been injured in the assault. Floating a UN Security Council resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire, Israel has faced international condemnation amid its continued brutal attacks on Gaza since October 7, 2023. Israel stands accused of genocide at the International Court of Justice, whose latest ruling ordered Tel Aviv to immediately halt its military operation in the southern city of Rafah, where over 1 million Palestinians had sought refuge from the war before it was invaded in May 6th. And in other news, President William Ruto on Tuesday received the report of the Presidential Task Force on the review of the legal and regulatory framework governing religious organizations in Kenya. The task force was established in May last year in the wake of the Shakahola Forest massacre in Malindi, Kilifi County, where over 400 people died after the self-proclaimed Pastor Paul Mackenzie of the Good News International Church ordered his followers to starve themselves to death in order to meet Jesus.
The 17-member team chaired by Reverend Mutava Musimi was tasked with identifying gaps that have allowed extremist religious organizations to operate in the country.
The abuse of religion, the use of religion to carry out very anti-religion things is what got our attention as a nation. And I'm very happy that you have been diligent as a task force. You've taken time, you've traveled different places, you have received memoranda from different groups and sections and sectors, and you have consolidated the thoughts, the ideas, the perspectives of many Kenyans into this report.
The task force was mandated to formulate a legal framework preventing radical religious organizations from operating in the country and table proposals on civic education to sensitize Kenyans on the need to avoid religious cults.
We will be taking the next steps in making sure that the good work you have done so far translates into what will do two very important things for us. Number one is to protect our freedom of religion in Kenya, to make sure that we safeguard the place of religion in our country, and to also make sure that that freedom is accompanied by protection from those who want to abuse religion for other reasons.
Speaking at State House, Nairobi, President William Ruto said the report was crucial for the country that has struggled to regulate unscrupulous churches and cults that dabble in criminality.
The next steps on the discussions on the policy framework that you have suggested, on the legal framework that you have suggested, will be informed by the broad views, perspectives, ideas, suggestions from the people of Kenya. Because public participation is now part and parcel of our legislation framework, of our policy framework, and of all government interventions and interactions with the people.
Mackenzie, who is in police custody, has been charged with terrorism, manslaughter and child cruelty alongside 94 co-defendants. They pleaded not guilty to the charges at a hearing in January. The remains of more than 440 people have been exhumed from Shakahola Forest, where autopsies found that while starvation appeared to be the main cause of death, some of the victims were strangled or suffocated. Mackenzie was acquitted of charges of radicalization in 2017 for illegally providing school teaching. He rejected the formal educational system that he claimed was not in line with the Bible. Presidential Task Force on the Review of the Legal and Regulatory Framework Governing Religious Organizations in Kenya's report has provided recommendations on actions the state may take against individuals and organizations suspected of engaging in extremist religious practices. Salma Salim, The Muslim Insight.
Elsewhere in the northeastern region, the security apparatus in Garissa County have embarked on a major operation targeting criminals and gangs who have been causing insecurity in Garissa town and its environs. Northeastern Regional Commissioner John Otieno said that already 15 youth aged 15 to 20 years have been arrested in Garissa town and its environs, suspected to be involved in the insecurity incidents.
We've had soaps and pesa soaps being robbed of their valuables and money. And from the look of things, those involved are young people, youth of the ages of 17, 18, 19, roaming around, threatening lives and property. And it is our responsibility as those who are in charge of security in this region and in Garissa in particular, to be able to contain the security situation, to be able to give an assurance to the members of the public that they can be able to go about their businesses without fear of being attacked at any given time. We are pushing a situation that we want to see a 24-hour economy, and it cannot be that the residents of this town cannot do their business because of fear of being attacked, because of fear of being robbed. From Friday, when I gave directions, we've been able to arrest youth with pangas. We have been able to arrest youth with the knives. We have been able to arrest youth with bangi in this town. And that operation is going to continue until peace and normalcy comes back to this town. It is a pity that a small town like Garissa can experience that wave of insecurity when we have more than enough security personnel.
Moving on, Mandera County has been ranked as the county with the highest fertility rate, with about 8 children per woman for the last 3 years, compared to the national rate of above 5 children. According to the 2022 Kenya Demographic Health Survey, this is a sharp increase as the county had an average of 3.4 fertility rate in 2014, lower than the national figure of about 4 children per woman in the same year. The survey also revealed that literacy levels among women from the northeastern counties is low, with 71% having no education compared to 34% among men.
Other counties following closely are Wajir and West Pokot with 7 children per woman each, Marsabit, Samburu and Turkana with 6 children per woman each. The 2022 Kenya Demographic and Health Survey shows that 2 counties of Tana River and Garissa recorded a minimum of 5 children per woman, while Lamu, Isiolo, Narok, Baringo, Kwale, Elgeyo Marakwet and Siaya had a majority of the women with more than 4 children in the last 3 years. A total of 4 counties, including Nyamira, Kiambu, Nairobi, Machakos and Kirinyaga, had the lowest fertility rate of between 2 to 3 children per woman. Literacy levels among women from the northeastern county is low, with 71% having no education compared to 34% among men. The report shows that only a mere 2% of women have more than secondary education, while 12 and 15% have secondary and primary education respectively. 3 out of 10 girls in Mandera aged between 15 and 19 are teenage mothers, compared to national statistics that showed 15% of girls in Kenya had a child at that age during the period under review. 8 out of 10 women in Mandera are on the view that there is no need for family planning, while 17% indicated that their need for a suitable family planning method was not met. Shadia Ramadan for Muslim Insights.
Superior Homes, a prominent real estate developer known for its upscale residential projects, has hit the ground running with its new initiative aimed at addressing 2 pressing issues in Kenya: affordable housing and sustainable agriculture. The company has announced plans to invest in affordable housing, launching its first project in Ruiru, Kiambu County. This follows the success of the 163-acre Green Park Estate and the launch of the 172 acres master plan development Lukenya Plains.
The move aims to bridge the widening gap between the demand for housing and the availability of affordable options, and the company will leverage on their expertise to create high-quality, cost-effective homes that will benefit Kenyan families.
For us, when we're looking at land acquisition, it's not always just about where, the hype is, but really looking at where is infrastructure moving to? Where are people moving? What's the incomes that they are earning? What's the rate of uptake? What's the costs in that area? Are there access to amenities, schools, playgrounds, infrastructure, airport, highways, jobs? And what's the rate of uptake? What's the capital appreciation? What's the rental yield? And when we have that, we build out our models, and then we go back and say, okay, now where do we want land based on all of these areas? And we found 3 very exciting pieces of land.
Speaking during the launch event in Athi River, Machakos County, Superior Homes Kenya Chief Executive Officer Shivo Arora said Kanzi Springs will serve Kenyans looking to invest in a modern, secure and controlled community close to Nairobi City. Dubbed Kanzi Springs, the 60-acre land project, which is part of a larger 300-acre master plan, consists of a quarter-acre fully serviced plots.
There is a farm that we have purchased called Karogo Farm. In terms of size, it's 300 acres. So I can confidently say that it will be Kenya's largest residential master planned gated community. And we're very excited to be able to bring in a 300-acre development. Now the site is stunning. It's one of the best sites we've ever seen. It's got tarmac roads all the way to the site. There's a tarmac road that splits it in the middle. On the left-hand side, 60 acres will be doing self-built, fully serviced plots. And on the right-hand side, which is 240 acres, which is 1.5 times the size of Green Park, just to give everyone a little bit of context, we'll be doing a master plan gated community. We'll be doing it in phases, very similar to how we've executed Green Park, how we've executed Pazuri, how we are executing Lukania Plains.
In a complementary move, Superior Homes is also venturing into agriculture with a new initiative aimed at integrating farming into their housing developments. The company's approach includes promoting local food production as well as job opportunities to the local residents.
And as part of that journey, we need to find new opportunities and new developments. And we have identified 3 sites. We've secured 2 of them, and we're going to be breaking ground on a very exciting development in the Kiambu area before the end of the year. And that's particularly pleasing in the sense that Kiambu is a place where people from Nairobi like. You know, Mombasa Road, somehow there's always a wee bit of a pushback. We had to do a fairly special development here to keep selling and stay with our vision.
Superior Homes Kenya takes pride in being pioneers of the open plan gated community concept in the region, which is now recognized as the future for sustainable living in East Africa. Reporting for Muslim Insight, my name is Mariam Sa.
Now that report from Maria Musa brings us to the end of our first segment. And in our next segment, we will be having a conversation on matters of behavior management. What are you doing to ensure that your kid is abstaining from immoral behavior, as now that students are on a holiday break? Join me in the second segment as we do that. Stay tuned.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
Enyi mlioamini, munapoitwa kuhudhuria swala ya Ijumaa, fanyeni haraka kuikimbilia, muache biashara zenu, hilo ni bora ikiwa mwelewa.
Isikilizeni kwa umakinifu khutba ya Ijumaa
ili uzidi kujenga imani yako na kupata faida nyingi ya siku hii.
Coming to you every Friday from Jamia Mosque, Nairobi.
Live on Horizon TV.
Kiumbe dhaifu lakini jasiri,
alitunukiwa sura nzima,
sura inayompa daraja yake inavyostahiki, sharti ajigambe.
Naam, na pepo ipo chini ya nyayo zake,
mpamba nyumba na nyoyo za wapendwa wake,
anayebeba majukumu yake pasina kupinga.
Mtazamaji, je, unamfahamu anayezungumziwa?
Bila ya kusahau hadhi yake na haki zake.
Ungana nami Rahma Swaleh na Sheikh Juma Amir,
tukuelimishe na kukupa mwelekeo katika maisha ya ndoa.
Kwenye kipindi Dira ya Mwanamke.
Kila Jumapili saa 2 usiku majira ya Afrika Mashariki ndani ya Horizon TV.
Kuna faida gani tupata tukimjua Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Nabii mwenye ushawishi mkubwa duniani.
Tukizikwa tukitiwa kaburini, tutaulizwa haya maswali matatu: man rabbuk, ma dinuk, man nabiyuk.
Sheikh Jamaluddin anakupa simulizi.
Huwezi kumpenda mtu usiyemjua
na kutambua sunna zake,
lakini ukimjua na ukimtambua Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mapenzi yako yatazidi.
Ufahamu Rasulullah, familia na maswahaba wake. Tazama sira ya Mtume kila Jumatatu saa 1 jioni kwenye Horizon TV. Kitabu chenye uongofu kilichoteremshwa kwa mpangilio maalum.
Sura ikiitwa Madania inamaanisha iliteremshwa Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam alipokuwa kwa Madina.
Kila sura imepewa jina rasmi na sababu zake za kimsingi.
Inaitwa Suratun Nisa'il Kubra, sura ya wanawake kubwa.
Fahamu sababu za kuteremshwa Qur'an na matukio ya kipekee katika utaratibu huu.
Asema Mwenyezi Mungu wa Nuha, nakumbukeni kisa cha Nuh tumpomlingania kabla, tukamjibu yale mambo aliyoyaomba, tukawa mwenye kumwokoa yeye na ahli yake.
Ungana na Profesa Muhammad Salim Badamana katika malengo ya Qur'an kila siku ya Jumapili saa 11 kamili jioni katika Horizon TV.
On the next episode,
Sharia doesn't recognize interest as an expense, as a haq to that credit institution. Doesn't consider it that you should pay, neither consider that it is right to the credit institution to receive. Sharia doesn't consider interest as a right of the creditor. So you will only deduct principal, and you cannot deduct the interest in this particular case.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back and thank you so much for keeping it at Horizon TV. This is our second segment whereby we engage ourselves in an impactful conversation. Students are on holiday break. What are the activities that these kids are doing? What can we do to ensure that these students don't engage themselves in criminal behavior, in immoral behavior also? Today we are having this conversation on matters of behavior management, and in studio I'm not alone. I'm joined by Rukia Ahmed, a teacher and also an environmentalist. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
MashaAllah, I can see you have my younger sister's name, MashaAllah.
Anyway,
welcome to Horizon TV. I know this is your first time.
Karibu
sana. And this is our second segment, and like I said, we are engaging ourselves in a conversation. And today's conversation is all about behavior management. You are a teacher. Students are now out on holiday break, August holiday break. Maybe what can you say are the activities that students can engage themselves while they are on holiday to avoid or to abstain from engaging themselves in immoral behavior? What are the best activities?
Thank you, Zamzam, for hosting me and for this amazing, wonderful conversation. Because right now, I think it's very important to have this conversation. This is the right time, since the students are out there and they are happy, they are at home. But that happiness is not just something to be much happy, because there's also so many things happening out there for students, unless they engage themselves in something constructive. So how can we avoid them being idle, and what can we engage in them so that they are being constructive and they don't engage in these behaviors? First thing is, I will say it's very important for the parent to have goal setting with their children. So they need to know at this time where I'm supposed to be. It's more of having a routine. So once the children come, the first day, of course, you give them a break. They've been from school, especially those coming from boarding school. Myself, I was doing my teaching practice in Our Lady of Mercy Girls Secondary School, Shaurimoyo. That's a boarding school. So most of them, they've been there for long. So you need to have a routine with them. After the first day, you set goals with them that I'm going to do this. You look at their assignments, because we have given students assignments. I'm sure there are different projects and assignments given to them. So have a sit with them and have a goal. But then they will be bored if they are doing just like in school, studies throughout. So what other activities can they engage in? The first thing is family time. Like, do we have games in the family? I remember as a child, sometimes my grandmother will tell me stories, and it was interesting story. And these are not just stories, but they were moral stories, stories with moral lesson. And this story will really inspire me so much, and I will not be thinking about committing what was told in those stories, and maybe the bad thing that happened to someone in that story, and I will be the good character in that story. Another thing is take them outside. They need to be out there, do outside activities like a picnic, you know. For example, if maybe it's about money issues, like Uhuru Park is free of, there's no entrance fee. So you just need to look for a transport, go with your children, and there are fun activities there. They need to also get, you know, outside activities, and that will also enhance their creativity. Another thing is for them to be engaged in creative activities at home. So for example, I am an environmentalist. We advocate for recycling. So sometimes you might look around and you see that you don't have a flower vessel. Do you know that your children can make a very beautiful flower vessel from plastic bottles and papers, you know, from their waste books, and they can color them, and it looks beautiful, and you know, that adds decoration in the house. So there's so much you can engage in these students, and so that they're not idle, but they are active, and they're not bored at the same time.
Okay, let me pose a question to my viewer back at home, especially to parents. What is the first thing that you do when your child is back at home from school? Maybe those who are studying in boarding schools. What is that thing you first do when your child is back at home? Our numbers are there. Kindly share with us your views. Share with us what you normally do with your kids, so that we are having this conversation. Yeah, it is best that we have, like my guest said, it is best that we are having this conversation right now, because students are now back at home. Students are on a holiday break. We want to ensure that these kids don't engage themselves in immoral behavior, don't engage themselves in criminal behavior. Back to you. You've talked about setting goals. And definitely children, they don't want to act like they are in school. Most of the time they're studying. Talk about the goals. How can you balance while setting the goals? How can you balance those goals and balancing the fun and the education part?
Yeah, so goal setting, it's to have that conversation with your child. What do they want to do in this holiday? We talked about, of course, studies must continue, because when we release the student, we tell them, don't forget to study. But we also advise them on other things to do. So in terms of their studies, you look at the grades they had in this term's exam. And some of them might have reduced, you know, some of them might have improved. And the teachers also, they set target for them. They actually set, the students set themselves target, but for us it's just to inspire that target and to keep encouraging them. So you look at the target they have set for themselves and what are they going to do. If it is about mathematics they failed, do they do 2 sums a day? You know, in school we study throughout. Of course there are little breaks here and there, but we study more time than the times we do any other thing. That is the core business in school. But at home, you have 24 hours. What is that resting time? What is that time you learn a new skill? Or that time they want to improve in mathematics. If it is mathematics, they failed. Or in any other subject. So other things is what other skill they want to build on. So in terms of goals, if it's about in the Muslim community, are they good with the Quran? So which chapter do they want to revisit? Do they know stories of the Prophet? What stories they want to listen? And do they want to also listen inspiring stories? Read a book? You know, get a new skill. Also, other thing is if maybe you look at, also we look at, in school we don't just tell the student about academics, it's not about academics. We look at beyond that. We see the student as somebody who will go out there and help the society, help themselves, and we call it holistic education. That's why we have co-curriculum activities. Even at home, look at are they good at a certain skill like, you know, plaiting the hair for girls, cooking, you know, and any other creative activity. If not, then that should be in their goal setting that I don't know how to cook this, at least I will use 1 hour a day or 30 minutes a day to learn this new skill, or I want to work on my drawing skills. You look at I have seen students with different talents. Some are artists, some are singers, you know, some like doing some creative, you know, hands-on work. And that is something that the parents need to nurture them and not to just tell them, you know, this is going to waste your time.
Okay, we are talking about the interest, the skills these students have other than studying. Maybe what happens, or maybe what could your advice be to parents who don't have that financial support? They don't give that financial support to their students in matters of skills and interests.
To the parents who mostly see that is a wastage of their time, unfortunately most of the parents think just getting good grades is life. And when a student gets an A or a B or that good grade, then their life is okay. But there is something beyond that. It's about skills. It's about, you know, the other knowledge they know. So they really need to support the little they can. It's not always very expensive to get a student who is interested or a child who is interested in arts. It's not expensive to get a drawing book, or you can improvise. Just what they need mostly is motivation. And most of the talents and skills are lost because of discouragement from the parent, and they think it's wastage of time. That is really wrong for the parents to think that way. They really need to motivate these children and encourage them and support the little they can. Imagine getting, that is well done, keep doing better from your parents. It's very inspiring compared to, you don't even know how to do something. Can you focus on your studies? You failed in biology, but you can't draw well. You know, it really motivates them. So it's for them to see this as a value, because when you go out there, even after school, I'm just from the university, we need more than just the grades. And because from school, my teachers advise me to do better, and that's why I'm an environmentalist. It's something I've been doing alongside my degree. I'm finishing my degree in education. But it's something else I have learned, and I have gained skill in environmental conservation and climate change, because this was something I was passionate in since I was in high school, and motivation from home and from school, I was able to do better.
Okay, as an environmentalist, you've talked about engaging these kids in making like flower vessels. Maybe what are the other things they can do as far as environmental is concerned?
There's so many things you can do as a child. You can do tree planting. Nowadays, the whole world is looking at things like climate change. Even Kenya, the president has a target of planting 15 billion trees. And, you know, there's so many environmental activities, especially during the holiday. So it's the role of the parent to also identify where some of these activities are happening, so that the children go meet children like themselves and other people they get motivated from these conferences and environmental activities. Imagine a child planting a tree and they feel inspired. So other things you can do, if you have enough space at your home, you can advise your children to also do a tree planting. One tree seedling, it's not that expensive. A 50 shilling, some 30, depending on the type of tree you need. You just need to get them one tree, or you can even, if you when they finish eating the fruits, they have seeds inside. You can dry those seeds, and when they dry, you can plant them, and you don't even need to buy a tree seedling. You just need to dry those seeds from the fruits they eat. Like if it is mango, they can dry and plant it, and it can grow to a beautiful tree. But if you don't have a space, there's something called kitchen garden, whereby even aside of your kitchen, you can set things like, if it is a sack or a tire, you know, put some soil there, and you can plant kales or sukuma, like cabbage, something small, dania, you know, they grow. I tried to do that during holiday in my home, Wajir County, and it was a beautiful small garden.
You're from Wajir.
Yeah, okay. So it was a beautiful garden, and I got inspired, and I think everyone can do that.
Okay, wow, that's really amazing. Maybe when you talk about planting those seedlings of the, to ensure that maybe you can have a kitchen garden, maybe let's talk about engagement of other stakeholders, like the community, like the government, like the NGOs. Maybe what can they do to ensure that they keep these students in the rightful manner?
Yeah, so in terms of stakeholder engagement, it's very important. You see, that's why I mentioned the activities happening around, so they can take part in these community-driven activities. So I'm sure in your area, there must be something constructive going on every month, every day. And you just need to identify that. And also, it's about nurturing talent. You might find that a student could be the next environmentalist, like, you know, environmental champion in Kenya, like Wangari Maathai. Maybe you will be the one who is holding back that child. So you just need to expose them to these activities so that they know that this is a community matter and not just an individual matter. So they get inspired and they're able to take part in these activities. Even things like charity, when you're going to children's home, there are a lot of children like themselves who are maybe not privileged to have their parents with them. What we do in such case, we also plant trees there. You know, it inspires them. They are giving back to society. They're also doing other activities like cleanups. You know, if we talked about drawing some time back, so you can even, a student who is inspired by art, they can draw, you know, a beautiful tree or trash being, you know, conserved and taken care of, and drawing a dustbin, don't dump our environment, and they can stick on the walls of that children's home.
But we're having, nowadays, kids, they're very lazy in terms of engaging themselves in humanitarian activities, like cleaning the compound, like cleaning the area, maybe. For example, like the Kijiji, it's being very hard for them. Maybe we're trying to look at how these kids can balance their academic performances, their academic life, and activities back at home. Now we are on holiday. Let's talk about a bit when they are at school. Maybe you as a teacher, we have students who don't understand things in class and they fear asking questions. We have those students who are below the grades the school wants. Maybe what do you guys as teachers do in schools to ensure that these kids, they do much exercise in different subjects? Like you can see that most students don't like mathematics. How do you ensure that you make the students love mathematics?
So for us as teachers, we have a very big role, and one of the most difficult tasks, even I think more than the parents, because the kids most of the time spend more time with us, especially in boarding schools, and even during the day. Imagine how many hours they spend at school. So what we do in schools, it's more of even the education system is set in a way that there is need for holistic education. So first thing, we inspire them. We tell them stories of people who were there when they were students, and now they are back, and, you know, motivational speakers to keep motivating them. We also make learning interesting so that they don't see math is just complex. Fortunately, I'm a mathematics teacher, so I don't know, like it's coincidence that you mentioned mathematics, and I love mathematics so much, and I always inspire my students to just to do practice. It's a bit technical subject, we accept that, but you know, there's so many fun ways they can do it, the different methods, and you know, it can really change their mindset. So what we tell the student is everything starts from your mindset. So if you tell your mind this is difficult, it just becomes difficult for you. Yes, you might at first see it as something difficult, but you have to convince yourself that you can do it because you believe in yourself. So that is why there are life skills. We tell them about self-confidence, that mathematics is difficult but cannot be something that will make you down, that look you stupid. No, it's how you see it. Just the same way, you know, if there is 6 here, someone else might see as 9, I might see as 6. So it's you to look at the angle you want to see from things. If it is really positive, then there's so much effort you can do. And there's so many, you know, even when you are at home, there's simplified videos you can watch. I know a lot of kids are nowadays, you know, with their phones or even their parents' phone, tablets, TV, you know, some might have YouTube that has, you know, internet connection. And today you can Google or you can search anything on YouTube. Even if it is the most difficult mathematical topic in your mind, then there's someone who makes it more interesting. Maybe if you feel the teachers, you know, because of time, we might not do it as much as, you know, these other people in the video, you can pause, you can try to understand better. And if you watch 2 or 3 videos on that topic and you practice. So it's about practice, and once you are done with your mindset and you know this is going to work for you, then it's how much you practice.
So that is what I wanted to ask about the digital. We are in the digital era. What are the digital apps, digital tools that are educational? You've talked about the tablets, the smartphones, and maybe those apps, specific apps. You find that it's very hard for a person to use data, because normally we need data so that we can go online. Maybe what are those specific apps that does not use data or internet? You can just have it downloaded on your phone. You can use it to study all the time.
So right now I'm not sure of that, but even some students don't have books, but as a teacher I've seen you can download like KLB, you know, book and have it on your phone, and you just need to download it once when you have internet connection, and you can see the notes. Maybe some parents are struggling to buy such books. There's so many books you can download. Maybe some they need data, but there's some that needs, when you have the data, once you download everything, you can use it offline. And so
I don't know what's the difference between these students. Back while I was studying in high school, you find that there are other students who have bags that are full, have books, and there are those who have bags with one book. Others don't even carry their bags. Maybe what could be the reason?
Okay, students will call them bookwormers, which is wrong for them to call them. So the student that carries a lot of book, those are serious students, because you know, they are going home, but they know they got assignments, they got notes to write in different subjects, they got a lot to study, and maybe they didn't do better as they expected in certain subject. So they will carry their books, all of them, at home. So I myself, when I was a student, I used to carry all my books, even though if I don't get time to read all of them, but at least if I get that time or if I get that inspiration, I have my books with me at home. So if today I get inspiration to read a certain book and they are in school, in fact, that motivation is lost. So the first thing is for a student to have all they need from school to home, because that will give you inspiration. Maybe you will not read all of them, but at least when you decide, you can study them. And you need everything, you have everything you really need at home. So it's about the students who see studies as more of to pass time thing, and there are those who see studies as something they really want to build their future from. And for myself as a student, I'll see studies so important, because I look back at home My mom didn't study, my dad didn't study, and that was an inspiration for me. I wanted to be somebody who is well educated, who does well in academics.
But we find that people are different. Like,
yeah.
Your mom did not study, your dad did not study, and that is inspiring you to work hard, to study hard. But there are those who are like, si mamangu hajasoma,
yeah.
si babangu hajasoma. Why am I studying? Like, there is that mentality.
So why you are studying is because you want to live a better future. I tell my students, your future should not be determined by where your parents are. Maybe unfortunately some come from families that are distorted, some are living with abusive parents, and some are coming from a very struggling financial background. So that should at least give you another perspective of life. Where you are is not what determines where you're going to be, but you can be born anywhere, but it's you as a child to decide and plan for your future. And where you are planning for your future is during this time. You're not at school, you're at home, but you will be going back to school in 3 weeks. So studies will go on. Maybe you just finished one term, maybe you're a Form 4 student, maybe you're a Form 2 student, or maybe you're a Form 1 student, or maybe you're still in primary. So what you need to do is focus, see that future that you want to build, and this is where our future starts.
Okay. While we were starting, you said about setting goals for the kids. That is the role of the parents. But what about this kid? You've talked about the students themselves. Like, they are the people who can change their future. Maybe what can they do in order to ensure that their future is well planned?
So it is what they think. First thing, they need to have different mindset, because I've seen students who have already given up. They are in Form 2, they are in Form 1, Form 3, or even Form 4, but they have given up on studies because maybe they were not able to do well from first term, second term, and maybe they find different topics are so complex, and they accepted that I can't do well. So that is wrong of you as a student. There is always room for improvement. In our school, we say we have so many rooms in our school, but what is the biggest room? The biggest room is the room for improvement. And I want that to motivate you, because there is always room for improvement. You just start small. If you had an E this time, your target should be, even maybe count the numbers of E's you had. Can you reduce those E's by a half at least, so that next time you only have 2 instead of 4? You know, that's an improvement.
So it's all about steps.
Steps.
Yeah, small steps at a time.
Students make mistakes. Someone is having an E, but they're targeting an A. Yes, you can run from an E to an A, but it's a process. So that will demotivate you. Next time, maybe you're having a D and you're targeting an A, but you can look at eliminating all the E's. Your grade will automatically shoot up, because those E's will drag the A you got back to so many points. It will just nullify that. You know, it will reduce that A. But look at the subjects you are best at. I'm sure student, I see them. I don't see any student who doesn't like any subject. The students, they have their favorite subject. Can you get the best grade in those favorite subjects? Look at the grades you're struggling with and try to improve. And what can you do?
But we can see, you're talking about you maximize your time on the favorite subjects that you have so that you can improve. What about the other subject that is dragging your grade down? Because you can see that teachers are really pressuring these kids. You find we have teachers of different subjects, right? We have teacher of English, we have mathematics teacher, but you find a mathematics teacher is telling his or her students that if you don't pass, this is what I'll do. Your English teacher, same case. How can you balance that one?
So balancing, when I said you do the best in the subject you are best at, this is why I said that. A student says history is the best subject, but they hate mathematics. They have an E in mathematics, but a C minor or a D in history. I don't believe your best is a D. That's what I tell my student. You can always do better. So what I'm trying to say is that you do the best in those subjects, but maybe you don't get an A in mathematics. You get that A in history, but you get a C+ and above in mathematics. So because that time, your grade will go up. So it's about balancing. You do, because this subject you're not struggling, but in real sense, you're giving more time to the subject you're struggling because you need more time to understand them, to practice them, to revise them, you know, and to do extra work. Because where you are struggling, you need an extra work. But history or IRE or any other subject might not need that extra work, but can you do the best in that? You balance. That is why you need to have a timetable as a student. When you're setting your goals, you set a goal for every subject, not just general goal. I want an A. How will you get that A if you don't get an A or a B plus or an A minor in those different subjects? So you're breaking down those subjects and you're setting goals for them. If you had an A in these, you have to maintain that. So students might get an A once and they forget about that subject. Next they have a C plus. You know, that is a drop and they get demotivated. So it's about planning yourself well. Yeah.
So maybe while at home you find that these students are from school. They were with their fellow students, they were with the teachers, and maybe at times with the staff who are there.
Yeah.
They are at home now. They are with the parents. You find that they have relatives. Maybe what are the family-oriented activities that can strengthen the bonds?
Okay, family time is very important and you really need to bond with your family. Before you even go to those family-oriented, you just need to accept your family, where you belong to. And maybe it's not the best as you think in your mind, but that is why you can create the best out of that family. So how can you bond with your family? You must have that family time. And this is mostly with the parents. I don't think a child can try to plan for their parents. It becomes difficult. So this one will be mostly the parents who will be responsible. Can you create time for family so that you know this day, this time, especially in the evening, do you come together or everyone eats their things and go back to sleep, or everyone is scrolling their phones, or everyone is watching TV, everyone is doing their own things. So they need to be having that family time where students do, the whole family comes together, and these activities you can do, for example, storytelling. If it's the stories of the Prophet, you can do some challenges like Quran recitations, or depending on your faith also, because I'm sure there are some other faiths who are also watching. You can tell them stories of the Bible, stories of the Quran, and also competition in a way that I remember there's a time we used to compete on Islamic trivials, like how much do you know about the Prophet? So we ask a question and whoever answers will get points, you know.
That is really amazing. Maybe due to time, I think the last thing I would like to ask, maybe, what would your advice be to the parents who are now watching, and also the kids who are now at home? Because you have kids who are at home initially, the day scholars, and we have the boarders. Now they are at home. Everybody is at home. Maybe what would your advice be to everybody watching? Be it the parents, be it the students, be it the community or the government.
Okay, let me start with the parents. The parents right now, we have released the kids, they are in your hands. And as much as they are also in the hand of God, but you have a big responsibility right now. You need to, first of all, sit with your students, your children. Now they are your children, they are our students. So sit with them and have conversation with them. Most parents make a mistake of, you know, just always punishing the child. They don't understand why the child is doing this. Can you have that mother, father, or, you know, that family bond with your child so that they can feel comfortable with you and they can reach out to you, and, you know, you can understand their needs. So you need to be aware of where your children are, what they are doing, whole day assignments they are being given, you know, look at how far they are, inspire them, look at the routines they set for themselves if they are following. And most importantly, peer pressure is something that's really killing our children. Peer pressure is killing them. I'm repeating that because that is something that is making them to do a lot of things that they're not supposed to do. So look at who their friends are, and as much as you're going to give them some freedom, limit them and know where they are, what they are doing, and be sure Let them not tell you we're going to a friend, this and that, but you don't know who that friend is. And be sure, have evidence of where they are, what they are doing. That's why you need to take them to outdoor activities, let them bond with you as a family, and let them have good friends. Also, to the community, the children need to be welcome in these community activities. They need to be inspired. These organizations, community-based organizations, NGOs, it's time you keep doing that work whereby you engage the children. From the school, we see those who come to mentor them. But when they are at home, they need to be in these activities. They need to be taking part in giving back to the society so that we are building a responsible citizen out there. So we need more programs that are children-centered and which will look at how do we look at the future of our children and how do we create an enabling and safe environment for our children, because we have seen families whereby the children are being abused in terms, even sexually. A lot is happening. So these are things we need to talk about. So many, immoral things are happening, starting from our home. You are letting your child to just be busy on the phone. You don't know which website they are, what they are doing, what they are watching. So you can be control of what your child is doing, but not just punishing them or dictating them, but taking them to a level where they understand and they know why they shouldn't do this.
Wow. That's really amazing. Thank you so much. I can see we don't have much time right now. The show actually it has ended, but I truly appreciate having you here and the insights you've had or you've put on the behavior management. It's really amazing. And to you, our viewers, I believe that you have understood what Teacher Rukia has said. It is best that we monitor our kids back at home right now that they are on holiday. Ensure that you engage them in community programs so that you can have a development community. And I don't have much to add on, but until next Friday, same place, same time, my name is Zamzam Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.